Hello, folks. It's Tuesday, so it's time for us to hang out again. We have an overcast, kinda coldish and rainy May 27th, 2025 here in Germany. I hope the weather is better where you are, or if it's the same, I hope you at least enjoy it, unlike me. As usual, my name is Tudor Vodov, and I'm back with the 53rd episode of Keeping It Realistic. In the beginning of today's show, which as always is done in collaboration with Chaos, we'll take a look at some of the recent news and announcements, especially by Chaos, talking about the suits and so on. After that, we'll check out a few of your works from the last 2 weeks, the works that I found to be inspiring and exciting for a reason. And by the end of the show, we'll be hanging out for a few minutes, talking a bit about photography and passion. And if you have something else on your mind, something that you think we might need discussing, we can also do that by the end of the show. Of course, until then, you're more than welcome to actively participate in the discussions, interact with myself, interact with each other, because this is why we do a live session, so that you can have the chance to say hi, ask questions, share your thoughts and opinions, and for the chance for you to be active. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. Let me take a look at the chat. The usual suspects are there. Amit, Abdi, Simon, Anna. Great to have you here, folks. It's awesome. Always awesome to hang out with you. How are you? How's everything going? Was your May a good month? Are you happy with it? Did you have enough work? Did you have enough free time to take care of your health, of your private life, of your social life, of your family and friends? I really hope so. For me, it was a bit of a month of renovations with a lot of work around the house. This is my new work that, as you know, I very, very much enjoy. So I enjoyed it. And the weather was nice for the most part, but now towards the end of the month, it's kind of unpleasant, to be honest. I expected it to be way warmer, but it's actually kind of coldish. It rains a lot. So yeah, hopefully this change into a more summer mood soon. Omar is here. El Ginger. Abid says, Simon, it's a roller coaster here too. Heavy rains in May, monsoon too early. Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, as far as I have heard, monsoons can be quite heavy. So at least the rain here is just annoying, but not dangerous. Mikkel is here. Hello, everyone. It's awesome to have you here. So, as for the length of today's show, I say something that I tend to say in every show, and then it doesn't work out. So, I'll try to keep it to be not too long, because tomorrow we'll be having an expectedly long show. But I won't be promising anything, because even if the content I try to talk about, or I plan to talk about during today's show, isn't that big, in the end we still end up talking a lot, and the show still ends up being 2 hours or more. So I won't be promising anything. Let's see how it goes. Amit says, is the video flipped, Theo? Last time the skulls were on the other side. They were. For me, it's not flipped. It should be exactly as it is. But yeah, if it is, I don't know why. To me, it always looks the same. But if this is the case, I hope you still enjoy it, even if it's flipped. Anyway, folks, let's not lose any more time. Let's jump right in and, of course, do what we always do in the beginning of the show and take a moment to appreciate today's cover image. I hope it is not flipped for you, Amit, because this way you won't be able to read what it says. But you know, it's Keeping It Realistic episode 53. However, it's quite a cool one, because we have 3 very nice looking works next to each other, contributed by Nadeem, Omar, and Leslie. Congrats to all 3 artists. And I gotta say, I really dig this one, because we have the 2 lovely kitchens to the sides, where beautiful earth tone color schemes. They have soft lighting. It's really pleasant to look at. And then in the middle, we have this very contrasty image, the central perspective, with the 2 chairs, with very boldly colored. I don't think it's chance. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. But those 2 chairs have exactly the Chaos logo color, which, of course, is a great coincidence for this triptych. What's even cooler is that Amit came up with a story even for those for the whole cover image, saying that the two chairs seem to be fighting or arguing over which kitchen to go to. In my opinion, they will look great in both. So yeah, but it's a cool thing. I hope you enjoyed. It seems like this. So let's continue to the second topic. Oh, I see Louis joined us. He says, sending big hello and good vibes from San Francisco, Theodore. Louis, nice to see you here. Thank you very much, and greets back to you. I hope you have some nice weather, unlike here in Germany in the moment. Anyway, usually, folks, Simon says weather is experimenting with HDRIs. Yes, and yeah, I hope it decides to go with the sunny ones in the end. Anyway, you know, in the beginning of the show, we also tend to appreciate another cover. It's the group cover of our community. I'll show myself here. And today, however, we won't be doing this because for two reasons. First being that we don't have a winner for the moment. Because last time I checked, I will refresh this now, maybe this has changed in the last few minutes, but last time I checked, the first two works, so the most voted images, had the same amount of votes. It was this work by Ali Reza with 31 votes, and then this work by Rukshan with 31 votes as well. And they are both very closely followed by this work by Mohanad with 28. And the other ones are also not bad at all. 17 for Estella and 24 for Mikkel. So this is probably the tightest race we've ever had, the tightest competition we've ever had. And we still don't have a winner. So maybe I'll give you a day more to figure out one. If not, I will be the one deciding in the end, because we need to have one. But there is also, but that's okay in this particular case, because as you saw here, we still have a temporary cover for an upcoming event, and maybe it would be a good idea to change it after the event has happened, which is tomorrow. But this is, of course, a very good way, a very good transition to our news section, where we can start talking exactly about this event. And it is the Escape birthday live stream, which will happen tomorrow at 4 p.m., the same time our show started today. And so it's May 28th, tomorrow. It will be hosted by Josh Radl. You should know him if you've watched the Escape Deep Dive webinars. He's awesome. He is very knowledgeable and also very passionate about Escape. So it makes a lot of sense for him to host this show. And of course, he'll have an amazing panel of really, really talented Escape power users who will be sharing their experiences with the render engine, similar to what we did during the Corona birthday show. So it won't be a long product placement thing, asking you to buy Escape or something like this. It will be a hangout, a party of very talented people talking about their favorite render engine. And I really hope that we, meaning the Chaos Campus, will be showing up in large numbers to support this initiative and, of course, make for a good party. And if you need a reason, because let's say, I know most people in this community aren't Escape users, you're either Corona or V-Ray or Vantage user, but if you still need a good reason to join tomorrow's special live stream, I would gladly give you a few. So first of all, you'll be taking part in something which is very special and unique. This birthday live stream is going to happen exclusively for the Chaos Campus, nowhere else. And I think this is a great honor for us. Also, you will be supporting your fellow Escape users, which I think is a great thing, because we may not have as many of them as we have, let's say, Corona or V-Ray users, but in the end of the day, this is a campus. This is not a Corona community or V-Ray community or an ArcVis community. It is a campus. It is for everyone who uses Chaos projects or is part of the Chaos family and is interested in it. So I think everyone should have a bit of a platform here, including Escape, Envision, Phoenix, or whatever users, okay? So these are some good reasons. Also, I think it's great to see architecture, in this particular case, mostly from the designer's perspective, because we are artists. We tend to see it from our perspective, where the designers The architects are our clients. But how about seeing things from their perspective, hearing more about their workflows, or being able to ask them about their workflows, about how we can eventually better cooperate? I think it's a very great chance to do that. And honestly, this is rather personal and subjective, but I personally love it to be among professionals, among people who are good at something, who are passionate about something. This is always very inspiring to me and to my own passions. So, and one last thing, by the way, Escape, you may be currently using Vantage or V-Ray or Corona, but who knows, maybe Escape is actually the right choice for you, because I know in our community, I've been active in it more or less since its establishment. For the last year almost, I've been managing it. And I know that there are artists here who actually do a lot of their work in ArchiCAD, in AutoCAD, in Revit, or in a CAD software. And then they need to transfer it over to Max, use V-Ray in order to render in Vantage, which is quite a long pipeline, right? And I think this pipeline can actually be shortened if people like this would actually stay or at their CAD software and then go directly to Escape or Envision. So I think there are many reasons for this for us to enjoy this and to attend this. I'll be there as a producer, so I'll be behind the scenes. I will take care of everything technical, which given that it doesn't only depend on me, is kind of a risky business, because Facebook can always glitch out or something. But I'll do my best that everything runs flawlessly, that the stream starts, that the layout is as it should be, and all of this. And I really think that this would be a great event, and we'd love to see you all there. I see Danushka joining us. That's great. The more, the better. But up to a certain degree, my opinion. I don't need 400 people in this live, because I won't be able to attend to you, and I'll just have to skip over the chat and just focus on what I'm about to talk to you about, which I think it would be a pity. And I can imagine that this will happen someday, but I hope that this day isn't that soon. Anyway, enough about the Escape birthday party. I really hope to see you all there tomorrow. Now let's continue with another recent Chaos initiative. Last time we talked about Chaos rebranding their channels a bit, grouping their tools. And a week ago, Chaos introduced the Chaos suits, which I salute and think is a great idea. And I think it was about time, because, Adobe or even Autodesk has been doing something like this for a long time now, and I think it's something that's quite convenient. So I was able to put my hands on this slide, which is a bit of an internal one, because I really want to give you an overview on what changes. Because I think that if an artist was to join, let's say, the Chaos ecosphere now, they will easily come into it. But for people like us who have been a part of this for a long time, changes like this can actually be a bit confusing. And this is where I come in and will try to give you a bit of an overview over the whole situation. What changed, what is new, and how you can eventually benefit from it. So it's not about selling your software or something like this. It's just about providing with a bit clarity. So generally speaking, we have three major categories. We have architectural design, architectural visualization, and M&E, which is media and entertainment. We also have three major suite tiers. We have the solo suite, which is more or less the software itself, being it Escape, V-Ray, or Corona. The premium suite, which includes a bit more tools, and the collection, which is like the full sortiment. And there are also two license types as well. So there is the floating license, which is shareable among the users, and there is also the named user license, which used to be called fixed license, which is tied to an account, but still usable on multiple devices. And obviously, as you can tell here, it is also cheaper. So now this is once again a bit of a behind the curtains slide that I got for you. But there is, of course, an official page where you can see all of this. And as you can see, there are the categories you can find up here: architectural design, architectural visualization, media and entertainment, and project design. So I think more probably the most relevant for all of us here, or for most of us here, is the architectural visualization. And if you click on it, you can choose between Corona and V-Ray. By the way, here you can choose if you need a commercial version or an educational one. If you're a student, a teacher, or something like this, of course, take a look at the educational licensing. And then there are different payment plans. So you have a monthly plan, which, as you can see, the collections aren't available for. And it's, of course, more expensive than your annual plan, because as you can tell by the numbers here, if you go for an annual plan, the prices drop more or less to the half, which is, of course, a way better deal. And then there is also the 3-year plan, which is something that I really cherish, because it keeps the savings that you get with the annual plan, and it guarantees them for you for the next 3 years. And when you ask yourselves, why do I need this? Well, unfortunately, we have a bit of a situation with instability all around the world, also in countries that always used to be very stable politically and socially, like Germany, for example. And because of this, we also get inflation. And with this inflation, everything tends to become more and more expensive. So with things getting more expensive, if you, let's say, go for an annual plan this year and it costs you like $38 per month, in an year when everything has gotten expensive, these $38 can be $42 or something like this. If you go for the 3-year plan, however, you have the guarantee that you won't be spending more than those $38, which I think is actually a very good idea to offer. Of course, if in the end of the day you are here, by the way, you can see what is included, all the, let's say, tools that come with a certain tier. And still, in the end of the day, if you want to purchase a solo license of a certain software or a certain tool like the Chaos Scans or Phoenix or Anima Vantage, then you can still do it down here. So yeah, this is more or less the whole situation. I hope I brought a bit of clarity to you so that you understand what the whole thing is about. I think it's, once again, it's a good idea to group these things so that people can have a better orientation, what's in for them, which tools are the ones that will better support them, and all of this. So yeah, I definitely salute this idea and this initiative by Chaos. Thumbs up for me. Okay, Mahmoud joined us. Hey Mahmoud, happy to see you here. Happy that you're fit again. Mario is here. Danushka says 3 years sounds like a lot of time, but in terms of projects, it's not that long. Well, yeah, of course, if you're just starting and you're not sure if this is even for you, or if this is just a side hobby or something, this is, of course, too big of an investment. Imagine, let's have a scenario where you are a teacher and you teach people something entirely different, has nothing to do with 3D, and the only time you have for your hobby are the summer holidays, the summer vacation, which is roughly 2 months. Then you just go here and buy Corona, let's say, for just 2 months. It's around $100, and it's still way less than the $360 that we will pay for an annual subscription. So in the end of the day, it's good to have options. It's not good when you don't have any. But I generally enjoy and like the direction of what Chaos are doing here. And maybe with time, we can have others. I personally suggested to have a bundle of, or I don't know, let's call it a suite, which contains, let's say, V-Ray or Corona together with Vantage, and obviously has a better price than buying them separately. So yeah, and this is of course one of the things. If you buy them this way, you save also a lot of money, which is good in the end. It's always good to save money. So enough about this. Let's move on to the next topic. And the next topic is also relevant to our community. It's me. Now it's of course the promotion, the Instagram promotion, which is about to happen soon in June.
This
Come on,
is going to
shut
be
up.
a very short.
And I made a post about it and explained a bit about it. It's going to be an Instagram carousel with a description of the group, with a short clip of mine explaining what the group is about, what I like about it, what are the benefits of it. And we figured that it would be great to have a few testimonials from actual group members because they are, of course, very, very authentic. But those needed to be 20 to 30 seconds, which I absolutely know it's a very, very short time. I understand this. Working like saying everything you want to say about this community in 20 to 30 seconds is absolutely impossible. And I feel you. I also needed a few takes in order to create my own clip because it also needed to be 20 to 30 seconds at max. But in the end of the day, sometimes there are rules we need to abide to and we need to respect, right? It's part of professionalism, if you want to call it this way. Because let's imagine a client reaches out and says, you know what, I need a 2-minute animation from you, and you just deliver a 1-minute animation and say, yeah, this should be enough. It won't be very professional, will it? And the same way, it's not that great if we were given a certain frame or a certain list of conditions to work with, and we just say, no, we'll make it 1 or 2 minutes, it should be okay. It's not. Sometimes we really have to follow the rules, and even if it doesn't work the first time around, some of you already showed that it is very much possible. I already have a few videos. I have a video by Danushka, I have a video by Amit, by Anna. I think I also had one more from Simon or something. So I think it is possible to do it, and I even made a second video showing you that it is possible. Obviously, you won't be able to say everything that you think or feel regarding the Chaos Campus, and believe me, I truly appreciate that you have all those positive thoughts and that positive feedback that you want to share, and I will make sure to give you the stage to share those thoughts with the community. I don't know if it's going to be our upcoming YouTube channel of the Chaos Campus or Instagram or my personal whatever wall, but I will gladly hear to what you have to say about this group. I'll gladly hear the stories, and I think that Chaos will do too, and maybe we'll start sharing a story per month where you can then talk for 1 or 2 minutes and say everything you feel about this group. But in this particular case, it's important to keep it at the time frame provided by Chaos, which is 20 to 30 seconds. So if you want to still participate, if you want to have the chance to be a part of these testimonial videos, you still have the time. I want to submit everything I have tomorrow, so you still have the time until tomorrow to record a clip of 20 to 30 seconds, just saying who you are, where you come from, and what you like in 1 or 2 sentences. I cannot guarantee that this clip of yours will be among the chosen ones. Maybe I will end up having like 5, 6, 7 clips, and maybe they will just include 1 or 2. I don't know, but at least you have the chance, and at least you have, played around with this. You confronted a new topic, you challenge yourself, and I think you will profit very much from this. So yeah, I think enough about this. Let's move on to the next topic. I just saw before the show started, like 2 minutes before the show started, that Amit kindly shared that the latest version of Railclone 7, so like it's a big update, huge step ahead, is out now. So definitely check it out. He just shared the video in the community, so you can take a look and see what's new. It seems like I had the time to just go through the video very, very quickly, but it seems like there are lots of new systems, like the Windows system that you see here, which is of course amazing. Having parametric windows that look good and work good would be absolutely great and very, very time saving. And it seems like there are many other new functions. We have a power user here, dear Abdi. If you've already watched this, gladly share your opinion in the comments. what you think about it. I see a lot of things that you actually showed us how to do with the help of Tyflow or with the help of RailClone. You did even some tutorials about, and now I see them here implemented in the latest RailClone version. So how do you feel about this? What do you think about all the innovations and new features? Gladly let us know, but it looks very, very promising. Abdi says, I'm very excited about RailClone 7. You can't imagine. Yeah, I absolutely can imagine. I know you're a power user. I know you'll make the most out of it, up to the point where the developers will think, why didn't we come with that idea? Why didn't we think about this? But yeah, there are great things. The fan system, as always. But I don't think this is necessarily something which... how should I put it, ruins all those tutorials that you did or all those macros, because they are amazing. But I think this new RailClone will give you an amazing platform to make even more out of your ideas and passion, which I think is a great thing. It says, looking at the fan system, I really remembered Abdi. Yeah, many things that I saw in this video, I was like, oh, I really want to hear what Abdi has to say about this. But yeah, enough about this. Let's move on. We didn't want to make the show as long today. I see Chris. Hi, Chris. Saying YouTube live stream is best compared to Facebook. Full screen mode option is not full screen video. It's half video cut. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. It's of course we can do this on Zoom. We can do this on YouTube or whatnot. The thing is though, Facebook is where the community takes place. This is the home of the Chaos Campus International community, and this is why we make the live stream happen within the group. There are many disadvantages to it. There is also a limit in the size of the video that I can output and everything, and it's not always being stable. It's not always being kind to us, but we want to keep these shows really exclusive to the community. We're not doing it for popularity. We're not doing it for Chaos to sell or something. We're doing it because Chaos wants to give back to the community, to nurture its community. And it's just that currently the Chaos Campus, the home of this international community, is on Facebook. And this is why we do these shows on Facebook Live and not on YouTube Live or Instagram or elsewhere. Maybe this will change someday if Facebook isn't so popular anymore. If people don't like it that much or something, we can maybe move over to Discord or wherever. But for now, we're here despite the limitations, the technical limitations of Facebook Live. Otherwise, I agree with you, Chris. Okay, enough news. Let's move over and see where you can learn something new or eventually polish your skills. I always gladly show you the Chaos Academy, and this time there is a good reason, more than just reminding you about it. The Chaos Academy has a new coat of paint, so to speak. It has a new look. It's better organized now. It features career. So you see here the different projects that you can learn something about. You can immediately click on one and go on it. Also, it features career paths, which I think is great if you're an architect, interior designer, RVS artist, animator, 3D generalist, or visualization specialist. You can just jump into one of the career paths and then you'll get all the courses that are together with it. And one more thing, it features webinars as well. So you see the Escape deep dive webinars about composition, lighting, and materials. These are universal topics. It doesn't matter if you're an Escape artist or V-Ray or whatever. These are universal topics. They are always great to know, and you can also find them here. Also, there are new courses down here, so definitely keep an eye on the Chaos Academy. So it's not something which Chaos made and left to gather dust. It's something which is constantly improving. New stuff is added, so keep an eye on it so that you're up to date and you can get knowledge for absolutely free. Okay, let's continue with the next topic, which I'm not sure what it even was. Oh yeah, I want to remind you about something about an upcoming event where you can learn a lot from very, very good people. So we have the first real or second official episode of the Portfolio Mondays coming on Monday. So coming Monday, June 2nd, 2025 at 4 p.m. Central European Time, the same time we started our show today. We have a great guest reviewer, Felipe Breuring, from the Associate Creative Director at Binyan. So definitely somebody who knows his stuff. And it gives you obviously a very, very unique chance to get feedback from someone who not only has done and seen a lot of quality renderings, but also somebody who is in, let's say, in the big business, who has received many portfolios to view and choose from, and knows what will be good for you if you want to have good chances of getting a job where you want to apply for it. So don't miss the chance to get feedback from these profs. It doesn't matter if it's going to be Felipe talking with Pedro. I know that his future guests as well are also going to be amazing professionals. So don't skip this one. And for the current episode, the deadline of the portfolio submission is tomorrow, May 28th. So if your portfolio is ready, if it is so far, gladly share it so that they get to talk about it. If it's not ready, finalize it, make it look really to its best, and then share it, because in the end of the day, you want to show a final project so that the feedback you get makes sense. Because if your portfolio is half finished or unfinished, then getting the feedback won't help you that much. Okay, I reminded you about this. Let's see what we have next. Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. So if you've watched the latest episode of the Chaos Campus live show with Nikos and his guest Farouk Heplevent from The Scope, they mentioned, it was a great episode, by the way. If you haven't watched it, the recording is in the group. Nikos posted it immediately after the show ended. So Farouk mentioned that an outtake of their city model that they used to create animations for automotive advertisements is available for free download. And this is where you can get it. The site is called Scope Locations Com, and here you can get a fragment of the Scope city for you to evaluate and test and play around with. So it's available for Vantage and V-Ray and for Arena. I will drop the link for you in the comments, so that if you've missed this, so that you can go check it out. I immediately did. I was very, very curious. And when somebody who's capable, who's skilled, shares something like this for free, I won't open any words about the Lightwall's house, the free model that we have in our community. But if I get something like this, I will definitely go try it immediately, which is exactly what I did. The moment the show was ready, I was already there. I downloaded it, and then for the next half an hour, I played around with it. So now here, I will just open Vantage for you to show you the model in case you haven't downloaded it yourself. Up to this point, now let me just tell you that I really played probably half an hour or something with it. But as you see, you get a fragment of the city with a big section, very detailed, with lots of urban details, all the textures, everything, and some high-rise buildings, and together with this HDRI, which provides some very, very pleasant lighting. So I decided to see what this thing can do out of the box without changing anything about it, because obviously you can add your own sun, you can change the HDRI, you can change textures and whatnot, but I didn't want to do all of this. I just wanted to see what I can do pretty much in half an hour in Vantage, because this is the power of Vantage, right? Being very, very quick. And this is also the power of having a ready-made model, not spending too much time. So what I did, I just tried out a few cameras. Not sure how well it will work out right now, because once again we're doing a live session which is very heavy on the resources. But as you can see, you can make, I just took this SUV from the Cosmos library, placed it inside, placed two lights here to light it up at the back, and this was it. And this is what I came up with, once again, pretty much for just a few minutes of playing around. And as you can see, this already looks very, very cool and like an actual advertisement of a car. So I don't think that you can do commercial work, or I'm pretty sure you cannot do commercial work using this model and just placing cars in it, because it was not done by you, even if you credit the scope. But what you can do for sure is play around with it, see how things are done, experiment. Something like this shot here, for example, it has a lot of dynamic. Actually a very, very cool automotive shot that I think worked out really, really great. And as I said, it's out of the box. It's the default lighting. It's the default everything. I didn't change a thing about it. I just placed the car to see what we get out of the box. And of course, you can adapt it to your own needs. And please make sure to also give some feedback to the scope, because this is why they are sharing it in the first place, to get some feedback from you guys, some thoughts and ideas, opinions. But I think that this is a very, very sweet one. Obviously, it would have been way cooler if the car had some color contrasts to the surroundings, because now it's a gray car with gray surroundings. If it was a red car, those images would have been way, way cooler. But it wasn't about making more of it. It was just about seeing what is given to us, what we can play around with. And I think it is very, very cool. So, my friends, check it out if you haven't. I gave you the link. And yeah, you have a new tool, a new scene to learn from. You can also reverse engineer it if you want to learn from it. You can experiment with it and play around with it and see, yeah, where it can get you. But always, my recommendation, every time when something like this is provided to us, make use of it, because you can only learn from it. Okay, now I'll gladly close Vantage so that the stream becomes better. I hope you still can hear and see me and you're still awake, and we can actually continue. Now, we'll continue with a few tutorials. Oh, Louis says super exciting episode, but again, that snippet is a super optimized data set from a Houdini workflow. Do you know if the workflow is available to test or perhaps collab with? I'm not sure about this. I think you should be able to reach out to them and maybe ask them a bit, because yeah, it's a snippet. I agree with this, but here there is a questions or suggestions. Let's talk. And the way I saw Farouk, I think if you have something interesting, if you have something to discuss, like what you just said about the Houdini workflow, if you want to collaborate on this or something, you can definitely reach out to them and suggest or talk about them, because they seem like very, very cool studio who is open for suggestions, to learning and to making the most out of this. Otherwise, they won't be sharing this, right? So if you have something like this, reach out to people, and generally reach out to people. You cannot imagine how often people, I think it was, how was this, who was it? The Apple guy who died. I forgot his name because I dislike him. But anyway, I think he said that in the beginning he wanted to get a job somewhere, but they weren't looking for people. Steve Jobs, yeah, of course, obviously. Thank you very much. Even though you didn't really help me, I came to name my own, but I'm sure somebody would have helped me. Yeah, Mario. Yeah, I knew it. Thank you. So yeah, Steve Jobs, I think in the beginning of his career, where nobody knew him, he was really eager to get an internship in somewhere and build something and become a part of a certain structure, but they weren't looking for people. But he just took the phone book and he started calling people and asking for spare parts and stuff like this, and it actually worked out for him. You'll be surprised how kind and giving people can be when you reach out to them, when you're of course kind, and when you have an idea. And let's say you reach out here to the scope and say, hey, I have some ideas about the scope city, can we discuss it, can we collaborate? When your ideas are actually good, I can imagine that you can actually start collaborating with them, or maybe even become a part of them. I cannot promise you anything like this, but if you don't try, you never know. The Apple guy, yeah, the Apple guy, Isaac Newton. Yeah, this is actually the proto Apple guy, the original Apple guy. But yeah, regarding Steve Jobs, he was a good designer. I just don't like the person Steve Jobs, because I don't know, it's not my type of person. Anyway, thank you very much, folks, for helping me out. Let's take a look at a few tutorials. So first, we have a very nice tutorial by Konstantinos from Mesh Mastery. It's for Corona, around 12 minutes long, showing you how to work with the daylight system in 3ds Max. And believe me, this is a very, very important feature because what it does is it simulates the actual course of the sun at a certain location. So if you want to stick close to reality with your visualizations and be more than just somebody who provides beautiful images, but some images who are actually grounded in reality, then this is something that I definitely recommend for you to use. I use it on every commercial work unless the clients are really, I don't give a damn, just make me a good sunset image even though the sun will never set at that location. I want a sunset image, that's it. But most clients actually very, very much appreciate when I reach out to them and say, you know what, this is how this is going to be the course of the sun at this location and at this viewing angle. So if you want afternoon sun, we cannot use this viewing angle. If you want morning sun, we have to position ourselves there and there if you want this to be realistic. And honestly, I've seen that clients really, really appreciate this. It's like a part of a service. It's like a part of being a professional. And I totally recommend it. I used to render this out like in an hourly arrangement, like an 8 and 9 and 10. Now with Vantage, I actually don't render this anymore as single images. I actually render a small animation showing this to my clients. Let me show you one that I did. So here, for example, if the clients wanted something in the afternoon hours, then we see our building is in the shadows. This is not a good time to do it. So we either need to go with early morning where the building is nicely lit up, or with the afternoon hours when we get this pleasant, soft, warm light coming from the right. So this is just a small example for you to show, but it doesn't take long, especially with Vantage. Rendering something like this just takes a few minutes, but it leaves a lasting impression on your clients that you actually care, and it makes your general service better. So I would totally recommend this to you, using the daylight system and making your images being more grounded and closer to reality. And then we have another tutorial, this time by Nadeem, who is showing us from start to finish how he created his Shadow of the Rhythm animation. You can see the animation in the end, but this is a very, very cool, it's obviously sped up tutorial, it's half an hour and it's for Vantage, but you see lots of fragments from this work. So you see where he got the building from, the texturing, the framing, the tone mapping in the end, and of course, by the end, the final outcome, which is very cool. So I think that's enough. These have been great. Thanks to Konstantinos and to Nadeem for sharing this. And I think, as we just mentioned, Nadeem, it would be a good time to actually transition to our inspirations, with the first one being one he shared in the community. So let's take a sip of water. I hope you guys are still there and still excited about today's show. Now we go into the, let's say, main part, which is the review part. And after it is finished, we have 5 works to review today. And after it is finished, we will move over to just hanging out a bit together and talking a bit about photography and passion, but just a few sentences, nothing more. And once again, if you have something on your mind, just, I know you're still there. I mean, I really appreciate it. I'm just giving us a bit of a mental pause because I know people tend to really focus for around 40 minutes. After that, they kind of lose a bit of their focus. So I think it's making a small pause and just, talking for a minute, having a sip of water is actually a good thing to do so that we can all remain focused. Anyway, you can tell me how you're feeling, guys. You can tell me still how your day is and, how your month has been and what you're looking forward to on something like this. It's not just small talk. I actually care, and I'm always interested to know what you're actually doing and how you've actually been, because here we are, I mean, I don't want to say we're a family, because this is what some awful companies used to say in order to pay their employees less and reward them with a pizza party instead of promotions or something like this. So everybody says we're a family, and this is mostly not true, but in this community we're definitely very close and very tight knit. So hearing about your day or how you feel or something like this is something which isn't just a small talk to kill time, but something that I actually enjoy hearing. Anyway, Amit says the day is wet. Well, yeah, ditto. Oh, in the same time, Mario is like, we had 24 degrees Celsius today. So, yeah. Yeah, it seems like Guatemala is kind of a warm country. So, yeah. But is it dry heat, Mario, or is it like humid and 42 degrees? Because I literally think that these are the conditions that will get me dead. I already have issues with, let's say, 25 degrees and high humidity. But if it's very humid and 42 degrees, I don't think I'll be able to live under these conditions. Simon says, hello, I'm trying to find some way to 3D scan objects in real life. Do you have any tips how to do it? Well, yeah, what do you want to... Oh, Mario says dry. Well, okay, that I can deal with that. Danushka, yeah, we had a fully rainy day. It seems like it's everywhere. My parents and friends in Sofia also complain about rain. But at the same time, I must also admit that here it didn't rain for almost 3 weeks and lots of plants started drying out. So, like it or not, it's good that it started raining. Back to your question, Simon. It depends on what you want to do. Do you want to make a scan that you can later use as an asset, or do you want to create a Gaussian splat? Because if you want to create a Gaussian splat, you can do it with photos or with a video of the object. If you want to create a 3D scan, there are some apps for that, but I don't think they are good enough for professional work. And there are also some tools, but they are quite pricey, something around 1,000 or more bucks. So, yeah, you gotta do a research about it. Do you have any experience in that field? I would use Android app. And I think for small stuff, like an a cup or something that you can put on your, let's say, on a white plane and then scan from all directions with your phone. I think it works. If it's about capturing a whole neighborhood in order to have 3D surroundings or something like this, I wouldn't go with an app. There are drones that can do this, but once again, the apps there are actually quite pricey. It's actual software which costs like 3ds Max or other stuff that we use because it's professional software. I'm not sure how good. I had experimented a bit with apps that are supposedly very good at scanning, and I was not very pleased with the results. Once again, when it's something very tiny and not with the tons of details, it works out. But for more, you need to actually invest usually a large sum of money if you want to have something which is really solid, what you can then use in your scenes and then maybe have a close-up on or something. So yeah, maybe somebody else has a bit of more experience than me because I played around more with Gaussian splats, which worked out very well actually, from drone footage, from videos taken with my phone. But once again, with the Gaussian splats, you have a certain limitation because you cannot really change the lighting of them. They're not actual geometry. It's like more or less captured light and color information, which means that if you capture, let's say, a surroundings and create a Gaussian splat, then you are bound to the lighting that comes with it, and you cannot just say I'll go for an evening mood or a sunset or whatever. If you capture it at 12 at noon, then you have to set up your sun for 12 at noon to match your Gaussian splat, which is kind of limiting, but it is of course very quick, and it actually works really just with using your phone and some apps that are actually free of charge. So you gotta figure out your priorities in this case. Anna says you can try photogrammetry. Check Johannes Linkwit's YouTube channel. Yeah, you can try this out. from what I've seen, also from Nuno Silva and stuff, it's yeah, you gotta invest. Just buying an app for €2 and then making it work probably won't be a lasting investment. But yeah, good idea by Anna. And once again, I'm not an expert in this field. These are just my own experiences. Okay, we had a very nice pause here. Let's do some reviewing. So we'll start with Nadeem's work. Let's see what he has to say about it. It's inspired by Erling Berg. It's Berg, a cabin in CGI, a photoreal CGI of the Kvitfjell cabin interior inspired by the original design by Erling Berg, recreated with attention to detail, light, and Nordic warmth. Reference is the Kvitfjell cabin, which is visible on ArcDaily. I'll show you this in a minute. It's done in 3ds Max, Vantage, V-Ray, After Effects, and Photoshop. So let's take a look at the original, and here it is. It is really Nordic warmth. It can immediately pinpoint this. And yeah, there is a lot of snow, I would say, but I don't think that Nordic people actually go out of this amount of snow. I think it's pretty regular thing, a pretty regular sight there. So, I mean, if something like this happens here, we'll have a certain amount of panic. But in northern countries or in Canada, for example, this is just a regular Tuesday. So, yeah, let's go back to the interior and take... Oh, sorry, this was the wrong project. Okay, I screwed up. Here we go. Okay, now let's take a closer look at Nadeem's images. And I gotta say, what we see here immediately is that this is like a direct reproduction. And let me just clarify that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just stated because it's, technical truth, but reproducing existing photography sessions is one of the best exercises a 3D artist can do. And even if you think, obviously, yeah, it's not fair to compare it to a commercial work, for example, where there are many limitations, there are deadlines and all of this stuff, and where the artist needs to come up with the lighting, with the framings and everything, whereas here everything was already, so let's call it, provided by the photos. So you already had the good lighting, you already had good framing to follow, which is of course great. However, it is also very tricky to pull off. I remember working on projects trying to replicate them as exact as possible. I usually pick up, when I do this, I usually pick up projects where I have floor plans, sections, and a bit of a CAD input with dimensions so that I can be sure that I get everything right. And even so, sometimes I really, I come to the point where everything is exactly done as it is in real life, where every material is very, very close to real life, but my lighting looks different. And this is exactly why reproductions are so great to do for a 3D artist, because at the point where I think I can show you one, I think it was the Black Kitchen here, by reproducing it, I had created this image and everything was exactly as the same as the original project. Apart from these chairs, I had other different chairs, but other than that, everything, the position of the windows, the size, the materials, the HDRI was very close to the one from the day the photo session was made. And it still didn't look like this. And then I remembered, well, think about photographers, think about the amount of equipment they have with them when they go and make something like this. When it comes to exterior visualization, it is difficult to bring humongous diffusers and reflectors and whatnot. But when it comes to interiors, they are absolutely there. And then you start adding invisible lights here, behind the window, behind the camera, because you never see what's behind the camera, right? You assume that it's just a person walking through the rooms taking photos, but this is not reality. Photographers have their own tricks, they have their own tools and equipment that they use. So you never know what types of reflectors and whatnot, diffuse lights are placed behind the camera in order to create an image. So, and these are the things that you need to figure out when you do a reproduction, and this is what makes them so tricky. It's true, you're given the framing, you're given the lighting, but you don't know how this lighting is achieved. You only see the visible part of that lighting, but all the tips and tricks, all the photography tricks, they are hidden behind the camera, and you need to figure them out. And the good thing about it is, when you figure them out, next time you have a similar situation in your commercial work, you know what to do. Okay, and think like a photographer, which is very, very important. Okay, but so this is a reproduction and very close to the original, and also a very, very good one. We have very clean and precise modeling. Just take a look at this. We can take a look at it. It's built out of single wooden boards as it should be. This shows the care to this project. Also, the assets chosen are really, really good. If we take a look at the chairs, the bar stools, the table there, they are exactly the same as the one in the original. And others that are not exactly the same, like the couch, for example, they are very, very good substitutes. And most of all, they all fit together very, very well. Materials, also great. They look and behave very realistically. And also Nadeem, I don't know if you watch this now or maybe the recording, but you managed to remain true to the original color scheme, which is a very, very important aspect of a project like this, where more or less floor, walls, and ceiling are made out of the same material. Like every surface is made out of the same material, almost. Abdi says at the end of the day, there is a reason why we call it studio lighting. Yeah, it is. It's studio lighting, but the studio lighting doesn't only belong in the studio, but also for photo sessions, like in this cabin, for example. It's just that you don't see it, but it doesn't mean it's not there. Also, hi, Mariana. Anyway, let's continue. By the way, Nadeem also did an animation on this one. It has some very nice music to it, but I won't be playing it so that we avoid royalty issues. But it's a very, very pleasant to watch video with a nicely paced camera movement, cool transitions between the different shots. I really like when there is this depth of field transition between an object that's close to the camera and one which is in the distance. And also very nicely paced, very nicely done. I'm a fan of this animation. It's also cool that, let's say, something like the fire is actually moving, because it's gives some dynamic to the scene. It's also nice that you added some snow falling on the outside, which makes it a bit more realistic. It would be even better if you could animate something like a snowstorm, which will amplify the feeling that we have being on the inside, because we're in this warm inside. It's not a coincidence that this whole scene is covered in wood. Of course, wood is a great insulator. It's a very natural material. It's a breathing material, but there is more to it. Like, you have this coldness, you have the snow on the outside, and then you're with this warmish, cozy atmosphere. So if on the outside we actually had a real snowstorm, which makes you want to crawl into a safe space, and then you are into this safe space, you appreciate it even more. Let me check Danushka's comment. He writes, and there are different to particular practice as well, like automotive shoots, food and products are different from each other. Yeah, of course. There are very different approaches, and this is why no matter if you're into RVs, product visualization, automotive visualization, it's always great to try to replicate what others have already done, because this way you learn a lot and you test your own skills and you figure things out that you can then use for your own commercial work. So absolutely agree. Anyway, the highlight to me on this work, however, because, I always try to point out what made me choose it and to share it with you here. The highlight to me is actually the mix of the compositions and lighting, and I think the kitchen shot is a wonderful example of this. Let's analyze it. There is so much depth to this shot, right? We already discussed this on a previous show, that depth happens when we have an interplay between light and shadows. If you kill the shadows, as it happens on many interiors that we see, where there are tons of spots on the ceiling and they're all turned on full brightness. They kill all the shadows and then the images look flat. Of course they do. Without shadows, there is no three-dimensionality, there is no depth, there is only flatness. So here, despite many openings and many windows, Nadeem managed to very, very nicely do this. And I would say it's even better than the original photos to balance out the lighting and make it be one of the most prominent qualities of this work. Because just take a look at this. Just take a look at the tonal contrast. They make for such a nice dynamic. And also the light being there where it should be. Take a look at this. It defines different zones. So we have the cooking zone, we have the kitchen island zone, and then we have the window zone, which also is a bit of an introduction of the outside world. And what do we have here? We have a triangle. Why are triangles great? Because triangles give visual stability to an image. You know, folks, in real life, let's leave photography and rendering aside. In real life, triangles are one of the most stable forms out there. This is why you see them as a part of the structural integrity of bridges and so on. And think about a chair. If a chair would have 2 legs, it will immediately fall over. If it has 4 legs, there is a high chance that one of the legs will be hovering above the floor. But if it has 3 legs, it's guaranteed that all 3 legs will be touching the floor and resting on it, right? Triangle is a very stable form, and we know this as humans. We know it on a subliminal level. And when we see it in an image, we also have this feeling of stability, which is calming and pleasant for us as human beings. So this is just from the psychological point of view. And I know when I say shadows, leave the shadows inside, I know that a lot of artists say, yeah, but my clients don't like dark areas. Having shadows doesn't necessarily mean having darkness. Take a look at this. There are shadows here, but they are neither dark nor too prominent, and we still see the light. The shadows must be there so that the light and things that are in light pop up, right? Without the shadows, nothing can pop up because everything is equally lit up. Just imagine a stage in a theater where everything is equally lit up. Will you be able to see, let's say, the main actors the same way as if a spot is put on each one of them? Obviously not, right? And this is exactly the same thing with renderings. And this is what we see here. Also, if you don't want strong shadows, you can just lower the intensity of your light sources. And what you can also do here, for example, you see how soft the transition is between the bright and the dark areas. In order to achieve this, you have many options. You can use light portals. You can just make them big as the window opening. You can use an overcast HDRI. You can even use a sun and sky if you want to have a bit more options about the positioning of the lighting source. Just make the sun size, you can increase it up to 64, which will give you shadows that are even softer than this. So there is so much you can do with light and shadow, and if you do it right, like Nadeem here, it ends up being wonderful to look at. Still, is there some room for improvement? Sure, there is. The wooden plank material is one of the topics that I want to mention. It seems like Nadeem decided to solve this topic with a texture instead of geometry, which is legit for sure. It has definitely a convincing look, but what we have here are misaligned texture mappings on the edges, which doesn't look good and which makes the geometry look like 2D geometry, the texture on it instead of actual plank geometry. Now, if this was me, if this was a project that I would decide to reproduce, I would actually go with actual planks, either with floor generator or rail clone, most likely, given the amount here, most likely with rail clone, because actual geometry, I personally believe, is always a bit better for something like this, especially when it comes to the grouts, to getting some highlights here and there. but the texture here is really, really convincing. But if you work with a texture, you should make sure to prevent something like this from happening. And the next thing about the texture is it is very close to the original. It is, but the original doesn't have such a strong and bold contrast to these cutout knots that we see here. So I suggest lowering the contrast on the texture so that it isn't so contrasty. Next thing is the snowy outdoor scene. Now, we saw it in the animation, we see it here as well, and I gotta say, it's not especially convincing. It looks a bit like it's hand-drawn, like it's a part of a Christmas card motif. Maybe it's because of just a very low quality. So if this is the issue, try upscaling with AI. If not, maybe try something else. I know that this one is very close to what we saw in the original, tons of snow and stuff, but maybe you can go with a different one which just looks more authentic and realistic, or maybe try to enhance this with AI, the renderings themselves. Next, we had a chair clipping through the rug, this one here. Now, yeah, a chair has a certain weight to it, that's true, and a rug is something which is usually kind of soft up to a certain degree, so the chair kind of sinking in to a certain point makes sense. However, this is too much. It's just the chair being on the floor and just clipping through the rug, which obviously doesn't look very realistic. There are a few solutions here. You can bring the chair up, maybe move it a bit to the right so it just hovers above the parquet. You can tilt the chair backwards if you want to suggest that it is placed on both the parquet and the rug, or you can just move the rug a bit to the left here and bring up the chair just for this shot and bring it back and everything's done. And then we have the plant, which looks great. It looks very, very good, very realistic, but it is kind of very bold, very, very saturated, taking too much of the focus, being too much of an eye catcher. So I would recommend to desaturate it a bit. But obviously, these were all pretty minor points because this is one wonderful reproduction, dear Nadeem, and great work from me. Let me check the comments. Louis says, I finally watched the Chaos and Vision webinar and was pleased with the genuine, candid, and insightful discussion of Project Lavina. Happy to see it back as a full-featured project. Curious about your first impressions. We'll take the answer offline. Oh yeah, this will definitely give it to you. Offline, Mariana says, is there a way to simulate the object sinking into the fabric such as carpet sofas? Yeah, you can do it with TypeFlow, but I'm not sure if you want, if it's very important, if it's like something like project visualization of this chair, then it's important, or the rug, then it's definitely important. But if it's just one of like 15 images or something, you can just quickly, don't waste time on it. This is just my suggestion. Abdi here will probably say, of course, do it with TypeFlow. It's very easy. For you, dear Abdi, it is very easy. For us, it means searching for a long time or having to ask you and you having to do tutorials for us, which makes it kind of more complex. But I appreciate that every time I ask you something, you're there to help me. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Luis, I will gladly answer your question afterwards. I will try not to forget it. Okay, let's continue with the next work that we want to discuss, which is this apartment. I assume it's an apartment. The description isn't giving us much here. It's a work by John. He writes, I want to share this project, successes, blessings, and keep rendering. Design and visualization are by John himself or his studio, and it's situated in Ecuador. I'm sorry, I cannot, since this 90s lead came out, I cannot hear the name of this country without singing it out like they did in that awful song, Ecuador. So, sorry about this. Sorry, John, but this is it. Anyway, the successes, blessings, and keep rendering part is a very kind message. Thank you for that. But gladly share with us a bit more of the backstory of your work, the combination of software that you used to make it happen, and maybe some challenges. The more information, the better, because it just helps us better understand it and better evaluate it. Okay, let's take a look at the images one by one. I think it's an original design. I cannot say if it's a commercial. It seems like it is, but we don't know. Anyway, let's go through the images and see what they look like. And even going to the first three images, we can definitely say it's a very well done work and done with a lot of skill and knowledge. I would say the design sticks out to me a lot. It's modern, but also kind of unique. Not like a typical style that you just followed, but like something which was particularly done for this apartment or maybe for those clients, which I appreciate a lot because you know individuality is something that I cherish a lot because not many really have it. Materials and color scheme are also very well done in my opinion. It's almost like an monochromatic, let's say, color scheme with a bit of beige, with a focus on beige, and then we have the green accents, which are kind of bolder and more saturated, and I really enjoy this. Also, there is something that I wanted to point out. I love the imperfections that you've put on the mirrors in the bathrooms. You see this? When you brush your teeth and then something like this happens and you implemented this, which I think is very cool. Gotta say this. There are also some really good framings as well that I really enjoyed. My favorite one is this one. Here you see a quote by Isaac saying, wonderful depth on this one. And this was exactly my very first thought when I saw this, because the depth here is really good. This is a great example of a wonderfully composed shot. So let's analyze it for a second, because while doing these reviews, it's not only the original artist, the original creator who has the profit from the reviews, but also everyone watching here and now today or the recordings later should be able to profit from those reviews. So this is why I try to always analyze something in a more generalistic manner. And in this particular case, it is the framing of this shot. Why is it so great? Why does it have such a good depth? Because it has a very clear fore, mid, and background. So the foreground, it's kind of out of focus. It's blurry, it's unclear, with the exception of this book. This was not such a great choice because it is very contrasty and also kind of boldly colored. But if it was let's say some type of a beige brown or something book without such a strong image on it, it's a painting, but it's an image in this case, then it would have been even better. But yeah, you see the foreground, it's out of focus, it's there so that we have a bit of a space perception, like where are we situated, from which point are we viewing this scene, but it's not the main thing of this scene. Next, we have the midground, which in this case is a very special thing because it actually frames the focus area. What we have here is a frame within the frame, which helps us focus on the background, which is the kitchen being the actual focal point. And this is also backed up by the lighting, because we have the strongest tonal contrasts exactly here on the kitchen. So we have a very clear focus and a wonderful feeling of depth of this one. This is really masterclass. The highlight to me, however, here, or the reason why I decided to share this work with you, is the staging. Now, many artists that I see, including myself from time to time, I gotta admit this, tend to scatter a few generic assets and then call it a day. Not John, however, because you see here, he made sure that everything is populated in a very realistic manner, which of course leads to very high relatability and authenticity. Like if people see this, they will be like, oh, it works. I see it. It's like, let's take a look at the bathroom. Usually we'll find here something like a vase with a very tiny, elegant tweak, and that would be it. But this is not how real life works. It may look cool for an image, but in real life, people do have stuff, fragrance sticks, wet toilet paper, hygiene products, and whatnot, like stuff they'll use on a daily basis, right? So this is why populating like this, it takes more time. It's a tedious job. I personally don't enjoy that much. but it makes a lot of sense because this way everything becomes believable. And the thing is, even if the people who are there may think, oh, I wouldn't put a plant in my bathroom, you already got them imagining as if they are already living there. And this is great towards selling. If we gotta be technical and honest here, it is. You want people to engage with your images. You want them to feel something. And obviously, don't enrage them by just putting some random shit in there. But if you show something, they may not agree with this. But if it has personality, they may either like this personality or they may dislike it. But they will have an emotional bonding to this image, which is already great because it means that those people are engaging with the image. They don't just, go through them and just swipe right. So, yeah, this is really, really nicely done. And everyone can learn from this because the population here is very well done and also very nicely balanced. Now, to make the most out of it, there is still some room for improvement here. First of all, regarding the design, there are some strange proportions here. Just take a look at the living room. I mean, the whole home office, living room, dining area, and kitchen are kind of very confined spaces. While at the same time, the bedroom is kind of needlessly large, which results in the viewer kind of doubting the architectural concept, and it seems like it's not being that well thought out. Also, this leads to a second issue, which is questionable functionality. Just take a look at this living room. You're so close to the TV and you cannot really watch with somebody else. It looks really inconvenient, I gotta say. And then let's take a look at the office, for example. Sorry, wrong direction. I mean, it's a cool office. It's not an issue that it is a small one, but the two chairs, just imagine, how do you want to reach the second chair? You climb on the first one in order to reach the second. This is inconvenient. This is not really a good design. I mean, in this particular case, obviously you can remove the second chair, but if you have the power to, let's say this is an exercise project, I would really advise you to reconsider the proportions of this open space. Now, let's talk about the bedroom as well, because it also has a few issues to it. First of all, it's the placement of the bed, which is kind of weird. On the one side, there is plenty of space, while on the other side, let me find the second shot here, there is this kind of small gap, which, I don't know, it's not really big enough for somebody to walk there. It will just be difficult to clean. It will get a dust, and it brings nothing really to the whole design. So either push the bed into the corner or make it far enough away from the wall. Also, let's talk about the parquet here, because it doesn't look that great. The gaps are just too large and it doesn't look really, really good. Maybe these are those, how are they called, wood effect tiles. If this is the case, this may be okay because they tend to be beveled at the top. But if this is supposed to be regular parquet, this is not a good execution, and I'm sure you can do better. I've seen better parquets of yours. And then, of course, we have the overexposure on the bed, where, of course, there is a certain loss of detail, but this is something that you can, let's say, easily fix by just reducing the intensity of the light source here to the right. And then we have the bathrooms, where this bathroom shot was really confusing for me because of this reflection that we have to the right. I think it's mostly because of the perfect alignment of this grout, which is separating the two wall materials, which perfectly matches. And it took me really a while to figure out that what we see here to the right is actually what we have here to the left. And of course, this is also due to this very perfect mirror surface. So I would advise you here to change the angle of the camera until this perfect alignment goes away, and also make the mirror more recognizable, like you did here. So give it a bit of a bump so that the reflection isn't that perfect, maybe a few scratches, a bit of dirt, and then it will be better recognizable as such. And also here, if this is supposed to be a parquet and a wooden floor, I wouldn't put something like this in the bathroom, to be very honest with you. Now, all of these may have sounded like many issues, but in the end of the day, it's once again been minor stuff similar to Nadeem's work, because apart from the proportions, which I consider to be the actual main issue with this work, this is a wonderful project. And if you fixed the topics we discussed, we'll have a really good portfolio work added to your portfolio. Okay, let's take a look now at an exercise interior. It's a work by Leslie. I'm not sure if I saw you the comments, Leslie. If not, watch the recording later and gladly give us some feedback on what you think about this. But we'll gladly take a look at your kitchen now. Let's see what you have to say about it. Hello everyone, a few renders I developed to support material and fixture selections on the kitchen design. I'm not quite sure I properly understand this first sentence, I gotta be honest with you. Comments are welcome, especially on how I handled the imperfections. I would like to know what I can do to improve them next time. Thank you very much. It's done in 3ds Max, Corona, Photoshop, and yeah, there is a Behance link as well. Oh, Leslie, you're here absolutely on time. And by the way, John, if you're watching the recording, this is a great example of a short description. I don't think that Leslie spent more than a minute or two writing this, but it actually makes a big difference, because imagine you invite some guests over, you cook a nice meal, which is really tasty, and then when time comes to serve that meal, you just go throw it on the table and you say, eat. Like, you ruin the presentation, right? I mean, the meal may still be tasty and the people may like it, but you have ruined the presentation, which should actually be the easiest part, because the difficult part was already spending hours cooking that meal. So just putting it nicely in a few plates and saying bon appetit isn't that difficult, right? It takes just a few minutes, which is nothing compared to the hours that you spent preparing it. But so it's not a good idea to screw that part up. This is why I always advise you folks to spend that 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 minutes after working for hours or weeks on a project to properly describe it, to finalize it, you know, in a proper way. It's a matter of self-respect, honestly. Anyway, Leslie, it's good that you're here. Let me first say that I really enjoy the scene itself, because it's always a pleasure to see something different. Sure, minimalism, Scandi, wabi-sabi, Japani or whatnot are awesome styles. I personally like many of them. But at some point, it's easy to get tired of looking at, seeing similar looking scenes all the time. And when then something like this pops out, it's a very pleasant change, at least for me. John, you're here. Thanks, Theo, for the feedback. You're very welcome. I hope this was useful to you, but gladly let me know. Is it a commercial work? Are you allowed to change the proportions, let's say, of this living room or this whole space with living, dining, home office and kitchen? If so, please do so and make the living room a bit more appealing and the office maybe just for one person with one chair, then the dimensions are okay. Or make it larger if you want 2 people to fit in there. It's maybe adding like 2 meters altogether, but it will change a lot. Now back to Leslie's work. I think modeling's good, lighting's beautiful, very atmospheric here with a natural gobo effect. The color scheme's lovely, very nice. The highlight here, however, dear Leslie, is the material study itself to me. So it's a great thing to experiment with, to play around with. So let's check out the single materials. Oh, Ulfat joined us. Hello, Ulfat. Glad to have you here. Okay, let's start at the top. Let's start with the wall stucco material. And let me tell you, Leslie, loud and clear, it's phenomenal. It's totally realistic. I love this material. Gladly share it with us if possible. If not, please share at least some material settings, because this is one of the best wall stucco materials I have seen in my career. It's really good and authentic and realistic. I love it. Next, let's talk about the beams with the paint on them. Okay, here they are. Now, they have 2 aspects to them. The first aspect is that it's a great simulation of a sloppy paint job. It is. It's if somebody did a really poor work painting the ceiling and putting paint on those beams, this is what it will look like. So in this regard, it is very convincing. But at the same time, I personally consider it to be too much, especially if you try to compare it to everything else in this kitchen. Yeah, maybe not every surface is perfect here, but it's a very cleanly executed kitchen. So having something as sloppy as this isn't really believable, because just imagine the people living there trying to have a nice, tidy, clean kitchen, and then somebody comes and screws the paint job that much, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll leave it like this. This won't happen. So sometimes, even if we have an effect which looks very nice, doing it like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's one of those situations. Now let's take a look at the drawers and the counter. Maybe the counter first. So the edges look very, very nice. The material seems lively and kind of reactive, probably curvature or ambient occlusion map. I don't know, but it looks very, very cool. The drawer fronts, the scratches, very well done. Not over the top. I really like it. It's normal. I mean, maybe the amount is a bit over the top, but they're not immediately visible, which is okay. The splashes also look nice. They're also reasonably placed for the low, because you may, drop something and then it splashes over to the lowest parts of the drawer. Makes a lot of sense. But they are also too prominent. And especially, they have a huge contrast to the spotless oven next to it. Like, let's say somebody dropped a glass of milk. It broke, they cleaned up, and then they cleaned up the oven until perfection, but they didn't clean up the drawer. It doesn't make much sense to. It's, once again, you can, but you doesn't mean you should. And same goes a bit for the baseboard. The effect is convincing if this would have been a metal that's on the outside somewhere. But in a kitchen, in a tidy personal kitchen, that's just too strong of an effect. But it's well done. Okay, so we should differentiate here. Is it technically well executed? It is. Does it fit the kitchen? Not that much. And then let's talk about the parquet. Okay, so yeah, we have some nice scratches. I think there was actually a shot focusing on it. Yeah, so the scratches are authentic. They look really, really good, like scratch wood. However, there are too many, and also they're kind of too randomly placed. If I were you, I would suggest placing them in a more reactive way. So place them more here where people used to work, go back and forth, and place them around the chair legs, because then it would be believable that it's the chairs and the legs of the chairs that are scratching the surface of the parquet. Also, in your case, it's a very common mistake, but in your case also the gaps, the grouts here are way too large. Make them smaller, and also the arrangement pattern is kind of too tidy for a kitchen like this. I want more randomness. It's just too ordinary. Now, in terms of further improvement, I have two more points. First point is this very empty kitchen wall. Yeah, it's true, there are nuances to the tiles here, but this is not enough. It's still kind of empty. So maybe adding some kitchen utensils with a holder made out of the, let's say, brass or whatever material this is, from the handles and the faucet here would be a good idea. And the second thing is the framing. It's balanced, it's nice, but we have a lot of empty space in the foreground, which is kind of boring to look at. So what you can do is you can eventually add an animal here, or maybe a cat, a dog, or maybe some type of a carpet partially visible to suggest a room continuation. So I try to do what I just recommended to you. Here you see the utensils in the same material as, roughly the same material as the handles, and here down there is a bit of a rug, and I think this one is more cozy, more homey, and would make your scene even better looking. Leslie says the stucco material is from Megascans. Well, it's great, and you chose a very good looking material. Mario says, yeah, it's hard to accomplish clean stucco walls like that. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's from Megascans, the advantage of a material like this is that if you use UV double randomizer on it and check the randomize each tile option, then it will randomize it within the material, so you have no texture repetitions and you still have an awesome looking material like this. But it's great. So if it's from Megascans, gladly drop the link. I would be very thankful. Amit says, cool, thank you, Leslie, for the information. Yeah, and Amit is for a cat instead of a rug. Well, yeah, but, trying to add a cat with AI would have been more of a struggle than the carpet. This is why I decided to go with the carpet. Anyway, back to you, Leslie. This is obviously a very good work, and similar to the previous folks, it is my recommendations or my improvement suggestions have mostly been nitpicks. It's a great study, and you did really well, especially when it comes to the technical part. The imperfections, the weathering that you added has been very good. Just don't overdo it, because once it's overdone, it looks exactly like an exercise. Even if it's a commercial work, I sometimes actually see it on commercial works where artists really went full in on all kinds of imperfections, and they were technically very nicely done, but it was absolutely overdone because a newly established building ended up looking like a meth lab. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue, because we're already 1.5 hours in. My plan was that the show will be ready by this point, and we still have very interesting things to talk about. So good thing I didn't promise that it will be a 1.5 hour show in the beginning, right? Okay, let's continue with two very intriguing works where emotion definitely has been a main priority. So we'll start off with this one. You saw a part of it on the triptych of today's show. It's a work by Omar. He describes it as, imagine a chair with two personalities. One is calm, vintage, and authentic. The other one is bold and full of energy. Which side speaks to you more? I'll gladly answer your question, Omar. I like to call this work a tale of two chairs. So let's see what we have here. We actually have the same chair. It's the exact same chair model with similar lighting, put in similar setting, with vastly different material to it, telling a completely different story. And I gotta say that even though each image is pretty great on its own, it's the mix, it's both images together that make this work so emotional, at least to me, and it makes it so open for interpretation. So I said I call it a tale of two chairs. So let's continue with this book association and try to divide this work into chapters. So let this be the first chapter, chapter 1. I'll call it The Old Reliable. By the way, folks, I don't know if it's the same with you, but the moment I saw this one, it immediately reminded me about a work by Fletson that we discussed on the second episode of the show in September 2023, so 1.5 years ago, where we have a very similar situation with the old bow, the atmospheric gobo lighting, and the chair telling a very, very deep story. Now, I don't know if this is a coincidence or Omar, you eventually saw the other one and this was a reference, but nevertheless, it's very interesting to see this side by side. Anyway, now let's talk about the first chair. So you see, it's vintage, as you said. It's seasoned, it's weathered, which by the way goes for the football exactly as well. And they both, the football and the chair, have lost their shine, but they have also been through a lot. They have seen a lot of joy while people playing with the ball, sitting on the chair, laughing, but also a lot of sadness. Sure, when you play with the ball, always there will be somebody who hurts themselves. And when I said, when you sit on a chair and somebody gives you bad news, you also be sad or crying or something like this. And I think they both have many stories to tell. Obviously, the chair here is the main character, but the ball as a supporting character has more or less the same fate. It's like old, wise people being there, laid back, being ready to tell you something wise from their very long experience. And then we have the second chapter, chapter 2, the younglings. They're adventurous, they're cheeky, they're energetic, they like to show off. Look at them when they're bold, glossy, red color and the dynamic posture, right? Like the first one, you see the old chair, it's stable, sitting on the ground, like it's a part of it. And then you have this one who are just dancing around or fighting or whatever they're doing. And you wanted to know which one speaks to me more. I think it's both, honestly, because yeah, we have the young chairs. They're fresh. They're so energetic. They're full of energy. They're adventurous. They want to do stuff. But we know that someday, one day, the red chairs will end up like the old one by the wall next to an old bow. But then there will be new, freshly painted or freshly crafted chairs to take the place of the red chairs. So to me, I see this a bit as a metaphor of the circle of life. And this is exactly what I enjoy so much about this work, is that it's so open for interpretation and lets your imagination take you on an emotional journey, which I really, really enjoy. Obviously, for all of this to work, because these scenes are very minimalistic, they contain like just a few elements, a handful of elements, so they must be wonderfully implemented. Luckily, this is the case here. The materials look amazing, the lighting is beautiful, very atmospheric, and then we can focus on the storytelling. Only then we can do this. If the execution is not so great, if we see things that we think, oh man, you should have chamfered this, you should have done this material more realistic, you should have used turbo smooth, then the immersion is gone. Now the immersion was fully here. I could focus only on the stories in my head, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you very much, Omar, and you guys in the comments. I would really like to hear what you think about this work. I really, really enjoyed it. And obviously, talking about emotional works, we definitely have to mention the next one, which is, okay, what is this? Oh yeah, this is this. Okay, which is Janita's work. It's called Moments Between Stops. Here is what Janita says about it. Hello everyone, this is a personal project I worked on in my free time about 2 months ago, and I completely forgot to share it on social media. I always enjoy watching the world go by through the window at the little moments and scenery that pass by. That inspired me to create this visualization. I didn't spend days on this one, just a few hours to capture the emotion I had in mind. It's done in 3ds Max and Corona with some post-production in Photoshop. Thank you. So let's check out the images. And obviously, these are not made to sell us anything, but to capture a moment and an emotion. And they do it really, really beautiful. It's actually, this is a great example of rendered street photography in 3D. Let's take a look at the definition of street photography, right? It says, street photography is a genre of photography that captures candid moments of people in everyday life within public areas, often without their awareness. We have candid moments, we have the people having no awareness of being photographed, and we have public spaces like the bus or the ferry or whatever this is. So this is absolutely street photography. Let's continue here. It aims to capture spontaneous and authentic scenes, typically in urban environments, but not limited to them. Urban environments mostly, but not always, and high authenticity. The practice involves careful framing and timing to capture decisive or poignant moments. And this is exactly what we have here. Now, you see, architectural visualization, ArchVis, depicts information, being it a project, a concept, or an idea, and it does it obviously in a spectrum of ways, from a strictly purposeful, just showing you, okay, this is the living room, to more emotional, where we add storytelling, some beautiful lighting. But what it depicts is, in the end of the day, if we try to summarize it, it's information. While street photography captures the kinetic energy of a moment, if I can put it like this. It makes you feel like you are a part of a situation and you know what will happen next. Like this moment, for example. We know what happens next. You know what to feel. We don't focus so much on the contents, on the street, the sidewalk, the building in the back. We focus on the energy of the dynamic of this situation. And the goal of street photography is that you feel the situation, not so much about the information. Yeah, we've all seen a sunset and people in a bus, but we know how to feel in this situation. Like immediately as I saw this, I remembered similar situations that I've been through as in my life, and I also started thinking about the dude here being on his phone, probably not even noticing the sunset because he's too much in his talks, which is obviously pretty sad and pretty unfortunate because this is a magnificent sunset. And then the woman who actually sits there in silence and noticing it. And I sympathize with the woman, not so much with the dude. I already think about feelings, not about the scene itself. I didn't even notice what Amit, I think it was, very correctly pointed out, that the lighting depicted doesn't really suit because it seems like the lighting is coming from the left, but we definitely see the sun at the front, so it doesn't make much sense in terms of realism, but the energy of this moment has been captured by those renders, and I can totally feel them. And same goes for the second image, which is even more naturalistic, even more organic, because here we have just probably a bus approaching a bus stop in a city with a person before. This is just like a random smartphone shot, but it is very convincing. So in my conclusion, I would say I definitely felt those renders rather than saw them, and I'm very thankful to you, Janita, whenever you see this, for taking me on this sunset ride. I really enjoyed it. And with this, we did our reviewing part, and next, actually, the goal was to talk about, as I said in the beginning of the show, to talk a bit about photography and about passion. But initially, I actually wanted to only talk with you about photography, and I would have probably turned this, what comes next, into a lecture on, how important photography is as a base for successful renders. Because, my opinion, in the end of our work, in the final phase of our work, we are actually virtual photographers. We go around and take photos exactly the same way a real life photographer would. Of course, we have other tools. We have virtual digital tools, which the photographer doesn't have. But what we do, the rules that apply are still the same that apply to a real life photographer. So I would have probably talked about how you should take photos. I've already told you about this, how you should take photos, use your smartphone and whatnot. But I'm not sure I should be doing this. I don't know. What I had prepared to show you were a few examples of why photography is so important for creating good images. I would have probably shown you Janita's, or the how much Janita's work has improved since he took on photography as a hobby, because this is an image by Janita from September 2023, and this is a rendering from Janita from February 2025, 1.5 years later. And I don't want to say he only learned photography in this time. Obviously, he also trained his render, modeling, texturing, and whatnot skills. But his photography hobby definitely resonated with the quality of those images. And just take a look at them. They're absolutely amazing. Look at the framing, look at the colors, look at everything. Maybe I would have shown you the scope as an example, because if you watched the Chaos Campus live show, the latest one, you would know that Farouk Heplevent was actually a car photographer before deciding to, switch the hardware, so to speak, and move from a camera, like a real life camera, to a virtual one. But the rules of photography absolutely still apply on all of the images here that, by the way, are all 100% CGI. And you can still see it. Let's examine this one, for example. Here, just take a look at, despite the scene having so much stuff on it, the car still pops out so clearly and nicely. How come? Well, it's because of the photographic rules. The foreground is pretty calm, the background is kind of dark, which makes it possible for the silhouette of the car to pop out nicely, to become very, very visible, right? It's really, really well done. Let's take a look at a different example that I really like. Let's take a look at this one. Just take a look at the framing of this shot. It's absolutely amazing. We just talked about it. Frame within the frame. There is a lot of stuff here in the foreground suggesting pretty expensive, pretty luxury living. And then we have this internal framing, which lets us focus only on the vehicle, despite all of the other elements of this scene. You see how clear it is. And if we scroll down more, we'll go to this image. Let's analyze it for a second. Is it boring? No. Does it lack detail? Once again, no. But you see, everything is very purposefully done. Let's take a look at, we have some ornamental grasses here, we have a shrub going into the corner here, we have some deck chairs in the back, we have a lot of architectural detail, but the area where the car is placed, you see it's neatly cut grass, it's a clean driveway and a very calm architectural facade, so that the car becomes the eye catcher. So you see, those rules always apply, no matter if you do it in real life as a photographer or in a virtual life as a virtual photographer in 3D. I could have maybe also shown you the late Sebastião Salgado, who, by the way, trained to be an economist, but then he found his passion for photography and went on to win numerous prestigious awards and become one of the most popular documentary photographers of all time. But actually, even though I actually still did it, I think what I should focus on, or the message that I want to deliver to you today, is a different one. Only thing I wish you, really from the bottom of my heart, really wholeheartedly, is that you find your passion and you find why are you doing something and what is the way to do it, and you believe in what you're doing, because when you do, you won't need me to convince you to things like take your smartphone that you anyway have in your pocket and take photos with it. You don't have much time. Okay, I understand you don't have much money to invest in expensive equipment. I understand it. But you have your smartphone and you definitely go grocery shopping or bringing your kids to school or bringing them back or something like this, right? And if you do so, then take a look at the sunset, take a look at the parked car, take a look at the building that has some nice lighting on it. Take photos. Try it out. Take a lot of photos. After a while, go back to those photos. Check which ones are the good ones, which one really flash you and which ones you don't like. Try to analyze why. Once you do, once you discover what's your passion, what's driving you, you'll be doing these things automatically. So let me tell you a bit of a personal story. So we were invited to a birthday party, and knowing that the birthday person is into arts, we decided to go to the Leica World. Let me share my screen again. Leica World, it's Leica, the manufacturer of cameras, and the Leica World is like 20 minutes drive from where I live. So we decided to go there, and here there is a video. It's a very impressive area. Here, I'll show it to you in a video. This is what you see when you arrive there. Unfortunately, we didn't arrive in our Mustang, but in our Touran, but it's equally cool if you ask our kids. Anyway, what we wanted to do there was not visit an exhibition, but actually visit the gift shop, because we knew that there will be many things about art that we can find there, and we will definitely find a present for the birthday girl. So we went there. You will see in this, as a part of this video, you will see the shop, the gift shop in the background. And the idea was we didn't have much time. The idea was that we just run in, pick up something for her, and then run back and go back home because there was a lot of work to be done this day. But what we ended up doing was a bit different because we were there for more than an hour. Because what you see here, it's already the gift shop. And you see there are many, many books there about photography, obviously. And I think I really went through all of them. I was also on this ladder that you see here in the back. And I probably went to really every book that was on display there. And the thing is, I absolutely loved it. And at some point, I just made a small pause to enjoy the moment because what I realized at that moment is how different it felt to how, let's say, I used to feel at school and high school, sometimes also even in university, where I felt that what I do, I have to, I'm obliged to, there is a certain obligation. It is expected of me to do, even though I don't feel like it or I don't like it. And while doing things that we don't like that much is normal for grown-ups, for adults, I think when it comes to something that you learn very specifically, like in high school or in university, and you don't feel that much like it, you don't enjoy it. It doesn't come from inside you. It comes like a pressure from the outside. It is never something that will gain traction. In this particular case, I was here and I could have been there for the whole day. I would just sit there, very, very cozy chairs there. I would sit there and just go through all the books if I could afford it, because photography books are freaking expensive. I would have bought almost every book that was there. I ended up buying only three, we were there, don't forget, to get a birthday present, not to get anything for me, but I couldn't stop myself from this. And I really enjoyed how I did it because I wanted to, from the bottom of my heart. I did it because of my passion, because I really want to learn from those books, to get inspired and motivated by them, and not because somebody was telling me I have to, and not because of some type of obligation. And this is why I said that I really wish you to find your passion and to find what makes you happy, what drives you to, make 3D images. And because once you do, you won't need me once again to tell you to get smartphone photos. You'll do it on your own, because you will know that when you do this, you'll become a better photographer, because with photography, it's just that practice makes perfect. And you'll become a better photographer, and being a better photographer, you'll also be a better 3D artist, especially if you're the one finalizing it. If you are just a modeling artist, or a texturing artist or something like this, obviously being a better photographer won't help much. But if you're the one who does the whole job from start to finish, and it's the one who also takes the final snapshots, then being good in photography, knowing the photography rules, applying them on a daily basis, is something that will help you a ton. So let's finish this show on a positive note. If you're still not asleep because of the details rant, but from time to time, I just want to, be really honest and very direct with you, and hope that this will maybe wake up something in you, or maybe give you a bit of a food for thought, so that, you think about this, think about your fashion, think about the drive behind what you do, and then you see if you find the right thing. I think, I know you're still there. I see the counter, Danushka. Thanks for reaching out, though. But I'll just say this from time to time, just to get your attention, and just to to joke around. But what I meant was really a bit of a serious topic. I didn't want to show this to you to show off or something. I bought books or something like this, but it was just something which truly happened while I was there. For a moment, I just so much enjoyed doing something driven by passion and not by necessity. So yeah, hopefully this is how you feel as well. Hopefully this also helps you, because at some point Amit said, why are not more people watching the live show? Now, obviously, there are people who cannot watch just because they are working right now and they don't have the time. If I were a part of a visualization studio here in Germany, I probably would be watching the Keeping It Realistic recordings in the weekend because at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, I would just be working. That's it. So, but I think those people who show up and to almost every show or make sure to always watch the recordings are the people not that have nothing better to do, like you, Danushka, or Amit, or Ulfat, or Mariana, or uh, Simon, or everybody else. Those people who regularly show up because they have found the reason for what they're doing. They have found their drive, their passion, and they invest this time. I know a lot of you will actually move over to the school, hang out to the school, I don't know, happy hour or coffee hour in the evening, meaning that you, Amit, will probably be watching from afternoon till late at night shows. And I know you have kids, I know you have work to do, but you still do it, and you do it because of your passion. And the more people find their passion, the more they will appreciate our community and also their own work. And if you find your passion, you also automatically start doing things like writing longer descriptions, believe it or not, because it is just the way it is. If you've already put so much heart into this work, you won't be able to just throw it out there. So let's stop here because I think it's a good moment to wrap up today's session. I see. Let me see the comments. Amit says we should have some different topics discussed every show. We already have this, actually. I make sure that we do, but I don't want to force it. If there is nothing particular to talk about, I would just keep it. We don't need to like artificially extend the length of the shows. Simon says, thanks for the live stream. You're turning these live streams into gold with your energy. Oh, you're very welcome. I love hearing this. Thank you very much. It's I really appreciate it. And statement like this really helps me continue, actually. And thanks for your video, by the way. I mean, it can be small but effective, and this kind of thing also gives us something to think other than 3D all the time. Yeah, this is the thing. We have the Keeping It Realistic show, and for good or bad, it's with me as the host. And I'm, with all my positive and negative sides, I am who I am, and I will always be keeping it realistic with you, keeping it real with you, as long as I'm doing the show, which means that I will also give you things from my own perspective, which may be not so typical or not so common, but these are the way I see them. You are always free to agree or absolutely disagree with me, but I will always be happy if you actually think about it. Oh, Becca joined us for the last 5 minutes. It's great to have you here. Becca, you can still watch the recording, but it's good that you were also part of the light show. Ulfat says, I like watching the shows. It's like a club we all meet together. This is how I always envision it to be. And maybe at some point I will take it even further, that there is some time where we can all hang out together, where everyone can join, even with a camera or with voice or something like this. But, you know, Chaos is a big company. I cannot just start doing stuff on my own because, you know, we need to make sure it works, that it's okay with the company and all of this. But Kalina and I are very much into this, into doing stuff for the society, for the community, and getting closer together. This is why all those meetups happen, where people are free of charge can go and meet great artists from all over the world and have a snack and have a drink with them. And we'll try to do it more digitally as well. Mikkel says, wicked as always. Thank you very much. I mean, would love to do that online hanging out thing. It would be great. We'll try to find a way to how to do it so that it works. And yeah, at some point it will be a thing, I assure you. Anyway, folks, we did the 2 hours. Sorry for that, but it seems like you enjoyed them. And of course, I hope that one day it's only not going to be digital, but also in real life, on-site meeting. It would be awesome. Until then, We will be meeting or we'll be hanging out and keeping it realistic every 2 weeks. Also, please don't forget Escape's birthday party tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central European time. Let's all show up. Let's show them the Escape community and the Escape users and the hosts, obviously, some love. And yeah, have a great rest of May. It's like 3-4 days more. Stay safe, be healthy, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks at the usual place and time. Maybe we'll make something else for the upcoming show. I have something planned, Mario. I hope you're listening. Until then, don't forget to, rock on and keep it real. Much love and goodbye, my friends. Ciao, ciao. It was a pleasure.